Stalker here from WestfordCAT, and I have with me Alison Christopher. She is the social worker for the town of Westford and the Westford Council on Aging. How are you, Alison?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me, Patty.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. I know everybody's really busy over there, but I think it was important, and you reached out to me, and I appreciate that, to talk a little bit about some of the resources available to people in town. We are still in the midst of a pandemic, and there are a lot of people that are struggling financially. So you wanted to get the word out on some of the options that they have for help.
I did, yeah, especially because October 17th ended the moratorium on foreclosures and evictions. So that was kind of a date that we were all waiting to see what was going to happen, whether it would be extended or not, and it wasn't. So while housing has always, of course, been one of the most critical needs for individuals and families and seniors alike, now it is even more of a public health crisis if people are potentially going to become homeless during this time of the pandemic. It may mean that if someone's forced to leave their home, they would end up in a shelter or having to double up with friends or relatives in close quarters, and all of those things increase the risk of spreading COVID. So, the CDC has suggested that people not be evicted or foreclosed upon, but their messaging is definitely not as strict as what Massachusetts had in place previously. So there are still some protections in place if people can document that their income was impacted by COVID. But the state has put into place significant financial resources to try to help people if they do get an eviction notice, or if foreclosure proceedings end up being started at some point in the near future. So the mass.gov website has a great resource. It's called COVID Housing Help. And it gives people a lot of information about the protections that are available, as well as the programs under RAFT and IRMA, which are administered through community teamwork for our area. And I've had a number of people apply for those programs right through the community teamwork website. They've made it very user-friendly because a lot of these agencies are still working remotely. So people can upload documents and email things over and do everything right from home. So I just wanted to make people aware of the mass.gov website that has the information, as well as the community teamwork website that has a lot of information about rent protections and mortgage protections.
Community Teamwork is a great organization. They help a lot of people. They're located in Lowell, are they not?
They are, yeah, and they have so many different programs that are beneficial for people that are moderate or lower income. So we refer to them all the time for things like this, yeah.
The mass.gov website is really informative. I go on it a couple of times a week. There's so much great information on there regarding COVID. So good advice there.
I've been really impressed just with how much they've been updating everything on it, and how there's new things there that seem to show up by the day. So I really encourage people to use that if they feel like they're struggling with something, to kind of choose a topic and do a deep dive into what exists for help.
I agree, because a lot of times the Massachusetts website, mass.gov, regarding other things, is not so easy to navigate, but their COVID section is really informative. I have a question for you, and I don't know if you know the answer to this. If people have, say, not paid rent or mortgage for 3 months, 4 months, and now that the moratorium is over, is that all due at once? Or is it just up to the landlord or the...
I mean, basically...
Because I feel really bad, if people have, that's, a big chunk of money.
Well, and that's why the programs, the RAFT program and the IRMA program have been in place throughout the pandemic, because you did not need to be at the point where you were being evicted or being served notices in order to get them. So the hope is that people have reached out for help. And I know many people who have, both to me and to Community Teamwork directly, reached out long before they get to the point where they've gone this whole span of time without paying rent. Because my understanding is that, you know, there are these protections under the CDC's guidelines, but at the same time, if there is action taken by the landlord regarding non-payment at any point moving forward, you do not want to let that balance build up like that, because it will be near impossible to get it covered. You know, I believe that RAFT, if I'm not mistaken, has been increased to $10,000 per household of benefits that can be allowed. So people can apply for a significant, you know, dollar amount if they are behind in rent as a result of losing their job at the beginning of COVID. I don't know ultimately what the dollar amounts are that people have ended up receiving, but I know that the state has increased the dollar limits quite a bit. So that's why I feel like, you know, do this sooner rather than later. I want to make sure every person knows about it that might need it, so that they don't have to, you know, have this problem, because the moratorium on evictions and foreclosures was not to say you don't have to pay. It was to say that the landlord or the mortgage company isn't able to take action until this waiting period is over. But I would assume that that would mean that the amount has been and would be due, you know?
Yep. And what does a RAFT stand for, Alison, for those who don't know?
Oh boy, Residential Assistance for Families in Transition.
Okay.
And IRMA is Emergency Rent and Mortgage Assistance. Sorry, I struggle with those.
No, I'm impressed. Good job. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Is kind of brand new for people that are over the income guidelines for RAFT. So that's allowed many more people to qualify than otherwise would have.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, now what about people who need help with food?
Food is a little bit simpler, as much as it is a very serious need. It's a little bit simpler in Westford because the Westford Food Pantry has remained open throughout the pandemic and still is open 2 times a week. WestfordFoodPantry.org has the schedule and as much information as people would need to know about the Westford Food Pantry. So that's been a great resource for residents of our town. But also, Department of Transitional Assistance has made it really easy for people to apply for SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which used to be called food stamps, so that people who maybe lost jobs or have lower income as a result of hours changing during the pandemic have been able to use the app at DTA or do their application remotely, you know, over the phone or using the computer. And for quite a while, the pandemic had resulted in all of the households getting the maximum benefit for their household size, regardless of where their income fell in there. So SNAP has been really useful for people who need that debit card with the funds loaded on it to use at the grocery store. So if anyone out there has not applied for SNAP and think that they might be eligible, go to that Department of Transitional Assistance website, which you can also get to through mass.gov, and it's really helpful in doing a quick look at whether you would qualify based on your family size and your income. And other more complicated questions, the Project Bread Food Source Hotline is also really helpful with you know, talking through with people whether it looks like they would qualify or not.
What about utilities? I mean, let's face it, the weather's getting colder, the days are getting shorter, electricity and heating bills are going to be increasing. We all face that. Where can
Yeah.
people find help with their utilities?
So with utilities, there actually, as a result of the pandemic in Massachusetts, there is also a shut-off moratorium for utilities like National Grid through until November 15th. So that has been in place throughout. So again, people might be accruing quite a large balance on their utility bills, which is not what the ideal solution is in that situation. Even though they can't be shut off right now, we're encouraging people to do what they can to get financial assistance. We have, for seniors here at the senior center, we have the Friends of Cameron emergency funds that can offer some assistance in that way. There's the St. Vincent de Paul Society out of St. Catherine's Church, which is another charitable group who has stepped forward and helped people with some utility bills. We have another fund in town that I'm going to talk about shortly, but that, you know, has been helpful with some utility bills. And the other thing that I have had some success with is that National Grid has put out a little booklet with information about what people should do if they're struggling with their utility bill, in terms of calling National Grid, talking about their arrearage management program, which basically allows people to go on a payment plan, and then if they stay current with that for the year, can allow them to excuse the balance that they had at the outset. So that can be really helpful if people are able to do that. At the time that November 15th hits, that is what yearly is considered the winter moratorium for shutoffs of utilities. However, that's only for low-income households. So the household needs to make sure that they notify the utility company that they are in fact low income. And usually they will want the household to apply for LIHEAP, which is the low-income heating assistance program. I figured you'd ask me, so
You know me too well.
That program is around every year, and it's the federal heating assistance program. So people also can apply through that through community teamwork by getting an appointment right through the website and doing it by phone and then sending in their paperwork. So if you are on fuel assistance and you are low income and you are struggling during the winter, then you can make sure that you're on that winter protection to not be shut off at that time. 60% of area median income is what allows people to qualify for fuel assistance. So for a household of one, that's somewhere around 38,000, I believe, at this year. But I would just recommend people go directly to the community teamwork website or call them at 459-6161 and ask whatever questions they have about that program.
Are there any other resources that you would like to mention that could be helpful for people struggling?
Just a couple others. One is that we started early in the COVID-19 situation a Westford COVID-19 relief fund. And this is a donation-based fund that we have in an account through the senior center, and it is to provide assistance to Westford residents who have experienced a financial hardship as a result of COVID. So either they've lost a job, they've had reduced hours, they've had medical bills, they've had huge increases in childcare costs, they've had to stop working because their kids are in school at home. So a whole wide range of situations, and we have an application for that here that people can call me about if they are interested in applying. It's also a fund that we are actively taking donations for. So in order to help people in need, we always need folks who are weathering the storm a little bit better to share what they can if they're able. So people can call me at 399-2325 if they're interested in applying, and they can go to the Cameron Senior Center website, and there's a donate button if they want to donate to the fund. The one final thing that I wanted to mention is that we have an application out right now for the RAP program, the Westford Rental Assistance Program. And this is a 3-year rental assistance program that is scheduled to start on December 1st. The goal of the program is to help 5 households who are at or below 50% of the area median income by giving them up to $500 to their landlord each month to help them with their rental costs. And the goal is so that the household will not be paying over 30% of their income toward rent. So when people are under 50% of the area median income, it's nearly impossible to find a rental that is affordable in Westford. And this is for Westford rentals only. If someone has an identified apartment in Westford or is already in one and their landlord will accept funds through this program, then they may be eligible. So there are applications that we have here. They're available through the Westford Housing Authority. The director of the Westford Housing Authority is processing all the applications. They can answer questions about it there. And the deadline is very soon. It's October 30th. So if anyone is at all interested in this program, I would say call ASAP and get the paperwork in. There are only 5 slots, and if there are more than 5 qualified households, there'll be a lottery. So we hope that this will be a new avenue, although not a huge program, a program that will hopefully help another 5 families to not struggle as much with their rent to income ratio in town.
It sounds like a great program. Is this a new program? Did it just start this year?
It's brand new. Yeah, we're just taking the applications now for a December 1st start date. There have been a number of other towns in Massachusetts who have started programs like this. And, you know, we did a lot of studying and took a lot of information from how those programs went. And each of the programs is kind of catered and specific to the needs of the town and the budget that's available. So, you know, every program's a little bit different. This program people can apply to for up to 3 years in a row. It involves case management and support services through me so that people can work toward a more long-term sustainable situation. It would be good for people who are on waiting lists for other forms of affordable housing that may, you know, not be getting in yet because the waits are so long. Or people who just want to stay in Westford until their last kid graduates from high school and then recognizes that it might be better to find a community that the housing costs are a little bit lower for rentals. I think it could help a wide range of people in different situations.
That's nice work. Good job.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, so there's so many resources out there. And I think people shouldn't feel embarrassed or, you know, just reach out if you need help, you know, even if it's just temporarily, but, you know, don't feel there's any stigma or anything. Just get the help that's out there. So I'm glad we were able to talk today, Alison. I think a lot of people will find this a useful program.
Me too. I really hope so. And I thank you for taking the time to do the interview.
I always enjoy it, Alison. Take care. Be safe.
Thanks, Patty.
For WestfordCAT, I'm Patty Stalker.